Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. All right, let's just dive right into it. The research we're looking at today opens up with a pretty chilling reality check about what we call operational excellence. Think about the absolute corporate titans of the last 20 years, companies that just ran with flawless efficiency, best supply chains, massive margins. And then, well, they got completely wiped out by digital disruption, because doing what you do really efficiently, that's just no longer a sustainable moat. The operational excellence that totally dominated yesterday is simply not going to cut it for tomorrow's market. We've got to look ahead. Seriously, customer expectations are changing literally overnight. Innovation cycles aren't just speeding up anymore. They're compressing from years down to mere months. And AI disruption is without a doubt fundamentally rewriting the rules across every single sector. The stakes have absolutely never been higher. So it really begs the question, how on earth do we compete successfully in a future that is changing faster than ever before? I mean, how do you build a solid moat when the river itself keeps changing direction? Well, to figure that out, we have to acknowledge a massive paradigm shift detailed in the literature. We are officially looking at the end of static strategy. The old models are just breaking down. You know those days of locking yourself in a boardroom, writing up a meticulously detailed 5-year plan, printing it out, and shoving it into a heavy binder? Yeah, those days are completely over. Let's be real, those 5-year binders are basically just good for gathering dust or propping up your computer monitor at this point. Think about the difference here. Traditional strategy assumes you can perfectly predict the future. It leans heavily on this illusion of stability and rigid execution. But modern strategy? It knows you can't predict everything. It's an entirely different beast that requires constant flexibility and continuous adjustment. Predicting change perfectly is a total relic of the past, whereas adapting to change continuously is the new absolute necessity for survival. And why are those old approaches failing so dramatically right now? Because the ground is literally shifting under our feet. The data shows product life cycles in a lot of industries have shrunk by over 50% in just a decade. Markets evolve faster, technology advances continuously, and new competitors emerge totally unexpectedly, like some nimble tech startup suddenly eating a traditional bank's most profitable lunch. You just can't rely on a static plan in a landscape that's actively shifting. It is relentless out there, and the only logical response is a strategy that moves exactly as fast as the threats coming your way. Yeah, this state of permanent unpredictability is exactly why artificial intelligence is no longer just some neat little software tool for automating your inbox. No way. The data firmly positions AI as a core engine for strategic dominance. It is fundamentally changing how competitive strategy is built and executed in the modern enterprise. So let's break down what that actually looks like in practice. First up, AI improves forecasting. And I'm not just talking about plotting some historical sales on a line graph. By crunching massive amounts of unstructured data in real time, it radically speeds up our view of the horizon. Imagine an AI system simultaneously reading global shipping manifests, satellite weather data, and geopolitical news feeds to predict a supply chain bottleneck weeks before human analysts even see a blip on the radar. It basically lets you see the weather patterns forming way before the storm actually hits your balance sheet. Second, AI enhances decision-making. It acts as a massive accelerator for leadership choices. Take a scenario from the research where a competitor suddenly drops their prices by 15%. Instead of waiting around for a quarterly review to figure out what to do, an AI accelerator synthesizes market elasticity, supply costs, and consumer sentiment on the fly. That lets a CEO confidently greenlight a counter strategy over the weekend. It doesn't replace the leader. It arms them with unprecedented insight to make those high-stakes, rapid-fire choices with total clarity. Third, it identifies opportunities and risks faster. Look, in a permanent state of market uncertainty, you need a system that literally never sleeps. Think of AI as an always-on digital radar for your entire ecosystem. It spots those tiny anomalies, maybe a 2% shift in regional consumer sentiment on social media, or a slight lag in a supplier's delivery time, and it flags it as a massive risk or a golden opportunity way before your sales actually start to drop or spike. And finally, because of all that, AI allows organizations to respond more quickly. Shrinking your reaction times from months to mere minutes, that is the ultimate modern moat. The research is crystal clear here. Organizations using AI strategically are gaining a huge, almost unfair competitive advantage. Speed isn't just a metric of execution anymore. In modern business, speed is a strategy all on its own. Okay, so if extreme speed and permanent uncertainty are just baked into the future of business, we need a solid, grounded framework to manage them. And the solution to that is mastering strategic agility. Strategic agility means flexibility has officially transformed from a nice-to-have corporate buzzword into your absolute most vital survival trait. It's the built-in ability to adjust your strategies quickly when market conditions change, so you remain competitive despite all that overwhelming uncertainty. Think about it. If your strategy is too rigid to pivot, the market is simply going to break it. But hey, being agile isn't just about dodging bullets, right? It's about catching opportunities. Spotting emerging business opportunities requires this continuous environmental scanning. It's kind of like developing your organization's peripheral vision. You can't just stare straight ahead at your traditional competitors anymore. You've got to constantly monitor the very edges of your industry, because that is exactly where disruption starts. That's the only way you actually capitalize on rapid change instead of just barely surviving it. The analysis highlights 6 key opportunity areas you need to be watching right now, and notice how they all interlock. We've got artificial intelligence, automation, and data analytics, which basically form the new intelligence engine of your business. Then there's customer experience and sustainability, which are really all about deepening that human, ethical connection to your brand. And finally, digital ecosystems, seamlessly tying the whole shebang together. Awareness creates opportunity, folks. Identifying the overlaps in these trends early is exactly what gives you a strategic edge. All right, let's ground this massive tech shift back in the human element for a second. We can talk about AI and data all day long, but future-proofing your leadership is what actually makes any of this work. Because honestly, for all its processing power, AI is still absolutely terrible at looking a burned-out, panicked team in the eye on a Friday afternoon and rallying them through a crisis. The tech changes constantly, sure, but fundamental leadership principles remain the absolute bedrock of success. So, what does this modern leadership actually look like? Well, first, you have to create a really clear, compelling vision to help your team navigate the fog of uncertainty. Then, you have to deliberately build an adaptable culture, one that actually embraces change instead of fearing it. And of course, you need to actively encourage continuous learning. A leader's real job today isn't to perfectly predict the future, it's to build a resilient machine that absolutely thrives in chaos. Which brings us to you. Based on everything we just covered, I want to walk you through a rapid-fire sequence of critical diagnostic questions you should really be asking yourself today. Number 1, what assumptions are shaping our strategy right now? Seriously, are they based on yesterday's market realities or tomorrow's? Number 2, what could disrupt our business? You've got to look hard at your blind spots and do it with urgency. A classic blind spot in the sources is assuming your biggest threat is just that traditional rival across town. But the real threat? It's probably some industry outsider using a brand new digital platform to make your entire service totally obsolete. What's their angle? Number 3, how quickly can we adapt? This is arguably your most vital health metric. It's your organization's actual metabolic rate for change. When a pivot is required, does it take your company a week, a month, or a whole year to finally turn the ship around? You need to know that exact number. Number 4, what capabilities will matter in 5 years? You have to project way beyond your current operational excellence. The most critical capability you'll need might not even be better coding or faster supply chains. The research suggests it's cognitive flexibility, the ability to rapidly unlearn old methods and eagerly adopt new ones, because the skills that got you here will absolutely not be the skills that get you there. And finally, the ultimate stress test for your strategic mindset. Are we preparing for change or just reacting to it? In the modern market, preparation is what determines success. If you're always just reacting, you're always going to be one step behind the curve. Let's bring all this together. The future of competitive strategy requires a seamless synthesis of these core pillars. Strong leadership and deep technology integration act like twin engines, and they drive continuous learning, innovation, and ultimately adaptability and strategic agility. That continuous evolution is literally the only guarantee for long-term success. It's a never-ending loop of learning, adapting, and integrating. I want to leave you with this final, super powerful thought drawn from our analysis today. The future doesn't belong to organizations that predict change perfectly. It belongs to organizations that adapt to change effectively. We have to stop trying to be perfect fortune tellers and start building incredibly agile machines. So look at your strategy document tomorrow morning and ask yourself, if your industry changed completely overnight, would your strategy break or would it lead the way? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time as we continue unpacking the ideas that matter.